versus Sean Raheem Clark, case number 2019 SUCR 285-BA. Mr. Clark is charged in this bill of indictment with one count of child molestation, with one count of public indecency, to which he is entered a not guilty plea. The attorneys representing the state in this case today are Assistant District Attorney Megan Matucci, and assisting Ms. Matucci is Ms. Amanda Dunn. Mr. Clark is seated over here in the white shirt and tie. He is the defendant in the case. And representing Mr. Clark is Mr. Richard Ward. I think the first thing that I should tell you is that the time it takes to select a jury varies widely from case to case. So if you're trying to plan and you're wondering how long will you be here, the answer is that the trial of this case would probably not exceed a week. Jury selection itself would probably not exceed today, the latest tomorrow morning. So you should know whether or not you've been selected to serve in this case by the end of the day today or by noon tomorrow, and you would not be expected to be kept here as part of your jury service beyond Friday. So that's just a little bit of orientation so that you can decide how to organize your lives. Despite how long this can take, I want to just tell you how much I appreciate your patience and your being here. I can't emphasize enough the importance of this phase of a trial. If you were seated at one of these tables, you would want me and your attorney to take enough time to do a thorough job. For that reason, I ask that you not become impatient with the process. It is a process that is unique to the United States of America. It is designed to secure 12 jurors, all of whom begin the case with no opinions concerning the outcome. So how will this work? I will give you an oath under which you promise to be truthful in answering the questions that are asked of you. I will ask you to tell me if you are related to certain people involved in this case. I will also inquire as to any opinions you have about this case, any prejudice or bias you have concerning the case, and whether or not you are partial toward either party. Then, depending upon your answers, we go to the next step in the process. During that next step, the attorneys are involved. The attorneys will ask general questions of the panel. You are here in a group of 12. That's defined as a panel. So you are panel number 1. And they can ask questions of you as a group, and then they can follow up with individual questions. And that's what I expect that they will do. What sort of questions can you anticipate? Well, generally speaking, attorneys are interested in where you live in the county, how long you've lived in the county, what your marital status is, where you work, if you're retired, from what business or industry you're retired from, if you're married, where your spouse works, if you've not already told us, whether you have any prior jury experience. They may also inquire into your interests, your opinions, your acquaintances, your religion, your social or fraternal connections, your personal, family, or business experiences, or anything which might indicate that you would be inclined to lean toward or be biased toward this case, any attorney, or either party. Please do not be offended by any of these questions. They are not designed to pry into your personal affairs. They are designed to put jurors in the box who will be able to return a true and fair verdict. That's our purpose. All right, now I'm going to read you the indictment. The grand jurors selected, chosen, and sworn for the County of Henry, in the name and on behalf of the citizens of Georgia, charge and accuse Sean Raheem Clark with the offense of child molestation, and that the said accused in the state and county aforesaid, on or about the 2nd day of December 2018, did commit an indecent act in the presence of Anaya Parker, a child under the age of 16 years, with the intent to arouse the sexual desires of said accused by displaying his penis and masturbating, contrary to the laws of said state, the peace, good order, and dignity thereof. There is a co-defendant in this case, but this trial does not concern the co-defendant, so I will not read you count 2. I will skip over count 2 and read you count 3, which also concerns Mr. Clark. And the grand jurors aforesaid, in the name and on behalf of the citizens of Georgia, further charge and accuse Sean Raheem Clark with the offense of public indecency, and that the said accused in the state and county aforesaid, on or about the 2nd day of December 2018, did perform a lewd exposure of his penis at the Henry County Jail, a public place, contrary to the laws of said state, the peace, good order, and dignity thereof. So those are the 2 counts that are relevant that I referred to earlier, that relate to Mr. Clark. Count 4, again, relates to a co-defendant who is not on trial today. And so I will not read you that. So the grand jury of this county has indicted the defendant in this case. In this state, no person accused of a felony can be brought to trial unless that person has been either formally accused by the state or indicted by the grand jury. In this case, we have an indictment. An indictment is not evidence of guilt. It is merely the mechanism used to bring about a trial. Does everybody understand that? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of nods. That's good. Okay, can I ask all of you please to stand so that I can administer an oath? Raise your right hand. You shall give true answers to all questions as may be asked by the court or its authority, including all questions asked by the parties or their attorneys concerning your qualifications as jurors in the case of the state of Georgia versus Sean Raheem Clark, so help you God. All right, thank you all. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now ask you some questions. Please raise your hand if your answer to any of these questions is yes. The first question is this: is there anyone seated out there in panel number 1 who is not currently a resident of Henry County? If you're not currently a resident of Henry County, please raise your hand. Is there anyone seated in the benches in panel number 1 who is a convicted felon who's not had his or her civil rights restored? If you fall in that category, please raise your hand. Is there any person in panel 1 who is related by blood or marriage to District Attorney Darius Patillo, or Assistant District Attorneys Megan Natucci or Amanda Duncan? If you're related by blood or marriage to any of these people, please raise your hand. Is there anyone in panel 1 that is related to the defendant in this case, Sean Raheem Clark, or the alleged victim in this case, Anaya Parker? Have any of you, for any reason, formed or expressed any opinion in regard to the guilt or innocence of the accused as you sit there right now? Have any of you any prejudice or bias resting on your mind, either for or against the accused? If so, please raise your hand.
I have a question. You mean biases as far as specifically for him or towards the feeling of what the case involves?
I see you're differentiating between him as a person and the charges themselves.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that information with us. I'll leave it to the attorneys to follow up with you. Okay? And they will. And if you would please state your name.
My name is Joaquin Dominguez.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Shannon Busey. I have some prejudice just for the crime itself he's been accused of. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, and it does make it very difficult for me to maintain any type of non-judgmental feelings in a situation like this.
Ma'am, thank you for that information. The attorneys will follow up with you as well. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I was accused of the same thing that the defendant was accused of. I was acquitted. I was done by my brother after my father died while I was on active duty. So I have prejudice in reference to it. It was done in Berkeley County, South Carolina. So.
Thank you, sir, for that very important information. If you would please just state your name.
Harrison Jenkins.
Mr. Jenkins, the attorneys will follow up with you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yes, my daughter was molested as a child, so therefore we will have prejudice.
All right. And again, state your name, please, sir.
Very right. W-R-Y-E.
All right. Thank you. And the attorneys will follow up. All of these are issues that the state and the defense will need to spend some time on, and they will. Anyone else? All right. Is your mind perfectly impartial between the state and the accused as you sit there right now, other than in the ways in which you just mentioned? Thank you. Ms. Matucci.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. As the judge stated, my name is Megan Matucci, and I'm an assistant district attorney for the Henry County District Attorney's Office, and I represent the state of Georgia with my colleague Amanda Duncan. I'm going to try and talk loud with my mask on. If there's anyone who can't hear me, please raise your hand at any time, okay? I'm going to first ask you some general questions for everyone out here. So if the question you feel you want to answer yes, please raise your hand, and then I will get to you. And then I'm going to ask you some individual questions like we just went over, as well as the responses you sent back in the mail, okay? And just so you know, if you see my colleague Amanda and I speaking, we have both been vaccinated and follow social distancing guidelines. And if you see us texting, that's with our staff. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful, just trying to be safe with all COVID procedures, okay? First of all, is there anyone here who does not understand the English language? See none. We estimate that this trial will last about 4 to 5 days this week. Is there anyone who has any plans that you feel you cannot change? Non-refundable airline tickets, or surgery, or any other court appearances? No responses. If Mr. Clark could stand. I know the judge asked if you're related to Mr. Clark. Does anyone recognize him or think you know Mr. Clark?
He looked extremely familiar to me. I cannot pinpoint where he looks familiar to me, but he looks extremely familiar.
Thank you for that. You can have a seat, Mr. Clark. I appreciate that. And Mr. Clark's attorney, Richard Lord, does anyone know Mr. Lord or have done work with him? Seeing no responses. Does anyone here have any, you or someone close to you, a family member or friend, anyone who works for my office, the district attorney's office, or for a defense attorney's firm, or the public defender's office? No responses. I know the judge asked you if you were related to myself or Ms. Duncan or my district attorney, Mr. Patillo. Does anyone know any of us or know anyone in the district attorney's office? Juror number 7.
I'm not sure.
You said you might know someone? Do you know their name?
Barely Evans Battle.
Okay. How do you know Ms. Battle?
We are members of an organization, First Nations.
Have you ever talked to Ms. Battle about any of her cases at the district attorney's office?
No.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Has anyone here ever attended law school, paralegal school, or any legal classes? No responses. I want you to look around the room. Do you know anyone in the room or any of the jurors that you saw downstairs? Is there anyone who knows any parties here? Ma'am, what's your juror number if you could remove your hair? 27, juror 27, who do you know in the room?
One of the other people in the jury pool, not in this panel, but she and I are coworkers.
Your coworkers, okay? And juror 27, do you know the name or juror number of the other?
Her name is Christy Young.
Okay. And you both are teachers?
We both work in Impact Academy. She's a counselor and I'm a teacher.
Okay. If you and Ms. Young were both selected for this jury, do you think you could set aside your relationship and friendship and focus on the case, on the issues?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you be able to treat her opinions the same as all the other jurors in the room that you do not know?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm going to read you all a list of witnesses. If anyone recognizes any of these names on this list, I want you to raise your hand. Vanessa Parker, Anaya Parker, Christopher Shower, Charles Crenshaw, Timothy Cummings, Josh Fielder, Wendy Sandwich, Greg Patterson, Serena Flanagan. Does anyone know any of those parties? No responses. Has anyone ever been to the Henry County Jail? Either you've been arrested, or you went to the jail to visit someone, or you've done work at the jail. Juror number 11. You've been to the Henry County Jail before?
Yeah, I had to pick up my husband.
You had to pick up your husband, okay. Did you, when your husband was at the jail, did you go to the jail visitation or just pick him up?
No, I
Okay. And can you tell us what your husband was in the jail for?
yeah, he just didn't do it.
Okay,
Lost success.
okay. Thank you for that. And juror, what's your number, sir? 10? Thank you. You went to the Henry County Jail before?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, and what were you at the jail for?
If somebody got,
To pick someone up? Who was that person in relation to you?
this is man,
A friend? Was that a friend who was arrested?
yes.
Okay. And the same question I asked your colleague, was that someone, did you just go pick them up or did you go into the jail for visitation?
I just went there to pick him up.
Pick him up, okay.
And then the lobby area.
And do you know what your friend was charged with?
Maybe it's some type of vehicle accident.
Okay. Thank you for that. And juror 16. You went to pick someone up out of the jail also? And did you go into visitation or just to pick them up? Okay. And who was that person in relation to you? Your brother? A friend, okay. And do you know, again, what your friend was charged with?
No.
And in the back, juror 28, you also went to pick up, and the same question, did you go inside for visitation?
No.
No, okay. And who was that person you picked up in relation to you? Okay. And can you tell us what your daughter was charged with? Okay, thank you. And juror number 6,
Picking on my son.
you picked up your son? And what was your son charged with? Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone anyone who's ever been in the jail for the visitation to see someone who's staying at the jail for an extended period of time? No. And in relation to that, has anyone in this room been arrested or charged with a crime yourself? Juror 15? Can you tell me what you've been charged with, sir?
I wasn't, well, what do you mean charged?
Were you arrested?
Yeah, I was arrested, it was first count of, molestation for a minor 15,
Okay,
second count and third count. It was in Berkeley County, South
Okay.
Carolina, December 3rd of 2015.
okay. You have a good memory, sir.
I remember, I got released December 31st at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I went to trial May 17th,
Okay,
2017, and was exonerated.
okay. So then hearing the, you heard the judge read the indictment and the charges that,
I feel a certain type of way because I was arrested, on my brother for family
okay,
ties because my dad died and then I was raped while I was in jail.
okay.
So, yeah, I feel some type of way about it.
Well, I'm sorry that those things happened to you. When you say you feel some sort of way about it, if the judge were gonna give you the instructions to try and set aside your biases, do you think you could follow those instructions, or you think that you would still have this stuff in
I
your
would
mind?
have some type of connotation. I would try to do my best, and try to do my duty, but I would have some connotation because when everything went down, it made me feel a certain type of way because I wasn't even in the state of South Carolina.
I understand that, sir. Okay, well, I appreciate you being honest and sharing with the group. Is there anyone else who's ever been arrested yourself for a crime? Juror number 8, and what were you charged with, sir?
Possession.
Marijuana? Okay. Was that here in Henry County?
No.
Where was that?
Jasper County.
Okay. How long ago was that?
Like 3 years ago.
Okay. Did you go to trial or plead guilty, or what happened to those
Yeah, I
charges?
plead guilty.
Okay. And that was a misdemeanor? Okay. Based on that situation, do you feel you were treated fairly by the police and the court system? Okay. Anything about that arrest for marijuana that would prevent you from being impartial, from your listening to police officers and their testimony?
No.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else, someone close to you, a close family member or a good friend who's been arrested or convicted of a crime? Juror 15?
Yeah, my brother for drug trafficking.
Okay. Was that in Henry County?
Oh man, that was in Florida, in Miami, Florida.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there anyone besides I'm sorry, in the back, ma'am?
Oh, yeah, my dad once, got arrested for being in a truck and passing the truck way station, he was in truck way station,
Okay,
but it was just in the house, it wasn't anything.
you're juror 25?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone besides juror 15 that we already, I'm sorry, juror number 11, you had something?
yeah, like I said earlier, my husband was arrested, but it was just for the
Suspended license, okay. And juror 8,
Yeah, my son's on probation now.
your son's on probation? Is he on probation through Henry County? And what is your son on probation for?
Theft by taking.
Okay. And the same thing, do you feel that your son was treated fairly by law enforcement and the court system? Okay. And juror 19?
Yes, my brother was, my older brother was arrested when he was 15 years old for driving on the lines
Okay,
by himself. He was all by himself.
okay. Thank you. Is there anyone specifically besides juror 15 who's been charged with a sex offense or child molestation, public indecency, or rape, or anything like that, either you or someone close to you? Is there anyone in the room who you or someone close to you has been a victim of a sex offense, of child molestation, or rape, or sexual assault? Okay, start with juror 15.
When I was locked up in Berkeley County.
That was what you discussed and incarcerated, and I'm sorry that happened to you, sir. Okay, and in the back, juror 27, I know you said shared some stuff with the judge. You've been a victim of a crime?
My grandfather molested me for several years.
I'm sorry that happened to you, honey. Did you report that to law enforcement?
I did not, I was 6 at the time, and decided when I told him to stop, and finally did, I just avoided him, refused to be around him. I did not tell anyone until I was 22, 23.
Well, thank you for sharing. You heard the judge read the charges in this case. Do you think, if you were to hear testimony, regarding sexual offenses, that you would not be able to set aside what happened to you? Do you think you could listen to the evidence fairly, or would your
I
side?
have a predisposition for guilt in cases of child molestation.
When you mean you have a predisposition of guilt, if the judge were to tell you to try and set that aside and listen to the evidence fairly, could you try and follow the judge's instructions?
Consciously, I could say yes. Subconsciously, I do not know. I do not know how the testimony what it would trigger, what it would cause me to think about. As an adult, I like to say consciously, yes, I could listen to it impartially. But
Thank
I
you.
couldn't say 100%.
Okay, thank you for being honest. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Juror 19.
My brother, my older brother, the same when he got arrested, he was raped when he was 2 years old, by a church member of the church we were assisting to in Mexico City. And then both my ex-wife and my current wife, my ex-wife was molested when she was a child by a family friend for a while, for years. And then my wife now, she was sexually abused by one of the guys she was dating that was drunken at the time. Took advantage of her in a certain way she didn't really want to. And I lived the consequences of that, whether it be my brother, my ex-wife, my wife, I've lived with the consequences of child abuse or molestation or abuse.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And the same questions that I asked juror 27, do you think that you could follow the judge's instruction and set aside those issues, or would they be in the back of your mind during this case?
I can't tell you that I set aside the bias. Honestly, I can't because.
And when you say bias, are you talking? Can you
Well,
explain your bias?
my predisposition for guilt because, for example, the guy that raped my brother, he got away with it. He was never charged. It's in a different country. It's statute limitations are different.
I understand.
And the same thing with my ex-wife and my wife. Some of my ex-wife told me about it. She was, in her late 20s.
Okay.
And this happened when she was 6.
Well, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that, and you for sharing with the court and being honest. Okay, sir? Is there anyone else? Juror 11.
My mother was a victim of child molestation.
And was your mom, did she report that to law enforcement, or?
I don't think so.
Okay. And the same question I asked the other 2 jurors, do you think that you could follow the judge's instructions and set aside, even though it's hard, what happened to your mom, but follow the law and the judge's instructions and focus on the evidence that you hear in this courtroom? Okay, thank you. Juror 10, I see you have a question. Are you under response?
Yeah, my grandson was, molested.
And the same question, your grandson, was that reported to law enforcement?
Yes.
And was there a trial, or was someone?
Yes.
Trial, okay. And was there a conviction in that case?
Yes.
Thank you. And the same question I asked the other jurors, do you think you could set aside what happened to your grandson, even though it would be in your mind, but listen to the evidence and follow the judge's instructions in the law?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone here in the room who believes that the law should not be involved in what you do to your kids? So if you expose yourself, molest your kids, or touch your kids, or beat your kids, you feel that it's none of the police's business. Does anyone feel that? No responses. Does anyone here have specific experience either volunteering or working with children, either as a teacher, daycare. Okay, we're gonna go with juror 7.
I'm an educator.
And ma'am, what grade do you teach?
6th, 7th, and 8th.
Okay. And what school are you at?
McDonough Middle School.
So you are a mandatory reporter. How long have you been a teacher?
15 years.
I'm sorry, John.
Juror 11,
If
you work with children?
Ms. Mattucci, one second, please. If you do have an electronic device, if you would be sure that it's off. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, I work at school.
And what do you do at the school?
I'm in the facilities department.
In the facilities department, do you actually work with children or you just work on the building?
I just work in the building.
Okay. Thank you. And juror 15?
We do volunteer work with the family kids in Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay. Thank you for that. And juror 27, you are a teacher as well? What grade do you teach?
For 21 years, and I teach K-12.
And what school? Impact. Okay. And juror 25?
Yeah, nothing's sustained, but various, well, I've done volunteer work that involves children, just like with, neighborhood, group, well, more consistently, I think, so. Please set up,
Thank you. And has anyone here been falsely accused of a crime? You or someone you know? I know we talked about juror 15. Is there anyone else who has, you or someone you know has been falsely accused of a crime? No responses besides juror 15 that we discussed. And is there anyone on the panel that for any reason, for moral or religious or philosophical reason, you believe that you cannot sit in judgment of another person or cannot serve on this jury? No responses. Is there anyone who's having any issues hearing, seeing, or any medical reasons besides your concerns for COVID, why you cannot serve on this jury? No responses. Is there anyone who would have any issue looking at nudity or genitals to the point that it would distract you, that you could not focus on the case? I know none of us likes to look at it, but is there anyone that you would be so bothered by looking at nudity it would distract you from serving on this jury? No responses. I'm going to go through your questionnaires. I know you may have mailed these in a little bit ago and may not remember, but I just want to follow up with some of the things you asked. The talk to start with juror number 6. Ma'am, you have 6 children? Can you tell me the ages of your children?
32 twins and 31, 24, 20, and 10.
10? And do you have grandchildren?
Yes.
Can you just give me the range of age for your grandkids? How little?
He's
4?
4.
And you said you work in quality assurance. Can you tell us what that is?
He's inspector. I verify parts for blueprint for the aeroplanes.
For planes?
Yeah.
You work for UPS?
UPS.
Okay. So you inspect the planes to make sure they're good to go?
I inspect the parts.
Okay. And you indicated on your questionnaire that you have served on a juror before for a criminal case?
Yes.
And was that here in Henry County?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
We did for 3 months, once a week.
Oh, you were on the grand jury. When was that?
2 years ago.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to juror number 7. You have 2 children?
Yes.
How old are your children, ma'am?
23 and 22.
Do you have grandchildren?
No.
And you have served on a criminal jury trial before as well?
Yes.
Was that here in Henry County?
No.
Where was that?
Fulton County.
And how long ago was that?
Maybe 15 years ago.
Okay. And without telling me what your decision was, were you able to reach a verdict in that case?
Yes.
And you indicated on your questionnaire that you work with the SROs in your building for the school?
McDonald.
You work in McDonough with, okay. Hearing, if you were to hear testimony from,
Sir? Can you please tell me where you're moving to? Okay. You can't just come and go as you please in the process. And it's interesting that you should walk like that and you do that. And it's, the reason I'm saying that is because if you were over here in the jury box, then you wouldn't be able to, and it would be more obvious that you can't. Here, it's not obvious at all. And so we're gonna be, is this something that you could hold for just a short while, or?
Yes, yes.
Because it's important that all jurors hear all questions. And we try to keep everybody together throughout the entirety of the process. But if we need to take a short break to allow you to go to the bathroom, I will certainly do that.
Yes, sir.
Just let me know if it gets too much. Raise your hand, we'll know what's going on.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
thank you, Judge. And Juror 7, I was asking you, if you were to hear testimony of law enforcement officers, first of all, you didn't know any of the law enforcement we read on the list of names. You would be able to listen to their testimony and treat them no differently than any other witnesses that would come in this courtroom. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. And you indicated on your questionnaire also that you've been a victim of a theft, several thefts, so it looks like you and your son?
Yes.
Okay. And you reported that to law enforcement in Henry County?
Yes.
Were you satisfied with the response you got from the police department?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, Juror 7. Juror 8, you have 3 children.
Yes.
How old are your children?
35, 40, 45.
You have grandchildren?
Yes, I have 8.
What is the age range of your grands?
From 1-year-old to 24-year-old.
Okay, thank you. And you are a contractor?
Yes. I run the emergency service mitigation department, which means I'm out all during the night.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here during the day with us.
Yes.
And you indicated on your questionnaire that you've been to a criminal hearing or trial. Was that for your own arrest?
My son.
Your son?
And mine, yeah.
Okay. And you also indicated that you have been a witness to a crime. Was that for something else or for those 2 issues that we talked about?
Those two, yeah.
And the same question I asked Juror 7, if you were to hear testimony from law enforcement in this case, would you be able to listen to their testimony and treat that testimony from the officers the same as other civilians? Thank you, sir. Juror number 10, you are retired law enforcement?
Yes.
You with the Federal Postal Inspector?
Yes.
Thank you for your service. Are you post-certified currently?
My wife?
Are you certified by the state of Georgia? Or do you have arrest powers still?
No.
You're retired, okay. So you do not maintain your certification in law enforcement.
I don't know what you mean by that. I'm qualified for the firearm, that's what you mean.
Okay. If you were to see a crime in this building, could you arrest someone?
No, no.
Okay, thank you. When did you retire?
That's sad.
And all of your work was with postal inspection?
Correct.
Okay. And you previously served on a criminal jury?
Correct.
Was that in Henry County?
Cook County, Illinois,
Okay. How long ago was that?
early 90s.
And without telling me what the decision was, were you able to reach a verdict in that case?
Until,
Were you the foreperson?
no,
Thank you, sir. You indicated on your questionnaire that you had a positive or negative experience with a Henry County police officer. Can you tell me about what you're referring to in that?
to the arrest of a friend for the vehicle accident.
Okay, and was that positive or negative?
Negative.
Okay. Why do you feel that your friend was treated negatively or not fair by police?
The officer arrested her and said that the stop was not custodial, and it was.
It was a,
It was not custodial, and it was custodial because she was not free to go.
did you, you or your friend file a complaint with Internal Affairs or anyone in reference to that stop?
I did not.
Okay. Based on that experience with Henry County Police, do you feel that you could listen to officers from Henry County in this case and treat their testimony fairly, impartially, independent of what that experience was with your friend?
Yes.
You could treat the testimony of the witnesses that are law enforcement in this case the same as the testimony of the civilians that would testify in this case?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. In Juror 11, you also served as a juror on a criminal case in Henry County?
Yes.
How long ago?
2 years.
And was your jury able to reach a verdict?
Yes.
Were you before this judge, Judge Amaro?
Yes.
Okay. Anything about that process when you served on as a juror that would make it difficult for you to serve this time? You have 3 children?
Yes.
How old are your children? 11, 10, and 8? Okay. Thank you. Juror number 12, you work for Delta? What do you do for Delta?
Work on the ramp.
I'm sorry, I need you to speak up a little bit.
I work on the ramp.
On the ramp, okay? So is that doing baggage? Okay. And I know this has to be a typo, because my questionnaire says you have 149 kids.
I have 0.
0 kids, thank you.
0. I was told to put 1, but that's too close to a lie, so.
What do you mean that's too close to a lie?
Well, if you didn't ask me the question, it's gonna look like I
Okay,
have 1 child.
but you say you have no kids.
Right.
Thank you. And you indicated on your questionnaire that you're related to someone in law enforcement
I have a distant cousin.
Okay.
that's, law.
in Henry County?
No.
Okay.
I believe she trained in Henry County, but she doesn't, I think it's fair.
Okay. And you indicated on your questionnaire that you believe that the justice system is unfair. Were you thinking of something personally that happened to you or someone you know, or just stuff you see on TV or social media?
TV and social.
And were you thinking about issues or cases you see on TV and social media in Henry County or the rest of the country?
Both.
Both, okay. Are you talking about high profile cases like George Floyd or those kind of cases, or is there something else that you're
No, a
thinking of?
long time ago.
Long time ago, could you share what you're thinking of?
Jerry Banks.
I'm sorry?
Jerry Banks in 1974.
Okay. And given what you saw or perceived, is that still in your mind why you would be serving in this trial?
No,
So do you think that you could listen to the testimony of law enforcement here, as well as other witnesses, and follow the judge's instructions?
those people are gone.
Those people are gone, so you said? Okay. So when you say the justice system is unfair, you were just talking about 1974?
In general.
In general. based on what you've seen and perceived, do you think that Mr. Clark, who's sitting here, could get a fair trial in this courtroom? Probably?
Yes.
Okay. Have you yourself ever had a situation where you've been treated unfairly by police or the criminal justice system? Okay, or someone else close to you? Okay. And you reported that you had to call 911 before. What was that for?
Oh, my mother, it's medical condition.
Okay. So you called for an ambulance?
Yes.
Is there anything else you think that we should know that will prevent you from serving as a fair and impartial juror? Okay, thank you. And juror 15, I'm not trying to exclude you, but I've already got enough from you that I'm gonna skip over you, okay, sir? Juror 16, you work in customer service? What company do you work for? A work from home job? And you also indicated on your questionnaire that you think the justice system is unfair. Were you thinking about a specific instance or something you say on TV or the media? Social media? And the same questions I asked the other juror, was that in reference to something in Henry County or just in general across the country? Have you yourself ever been in a situation where you were treated unfairly by law enforcement or the criminal justice system? Or someone you know? And you also indicated on your questionnaire that you mistrust officers. Was that again from something you see on TV and social media or something? Yes?
Yeah.
Social media, okay. If you were to see testimony from law enforcement in Henry County in this courtroom, do you think that you could listen to their evidence fairly and treat them the same way as other civilians like you and me?
Yeah.
And you think that you could follow the judge's instructions to be fair and impartial towards those law enforcement officers and the other parties in this courtroom? Thank you. Juror 19, also like juror 15, I'm going to skip over you because I already got enough information from you, okay? I'm not trying to exclude you, sir, but thank you for sharing. Juror 25, do you work for a living or go to school?
I'm currently unemployed.
Okay, did you? I'm sorry,
Sorry, I was just saying that my last job.
what was your last job?
I was an intern for Climate Control Services as a mechanical engineer.
Mechanical engineer, okay. You have a degree in engineering?
Yes.
Okay. And you indicated that you had to call 911 before. What was that for?
That was, I was, in an accident, a vehicle accident.
Okay. Thank you. Juror 27, you indicated on your questionnaire you feel that the justice system is unfair. Was that in reference to what we spoke about you being a victim of a crime, or were you thinking about something else?
I think for me, it's a more systemic thing. It is influenced by social media, but I think there's a huge disparity in the social equity depending on how your precinct is.
Do you think that is an issue in Henry County or across the country?
I think that there are certainly some problems with how people in elected positions have certain groups that donate to them, so that there's potentially some shenanigans there. I think that overall, I would say about 80% is good, and about 20% is wrong.
Do you feel that you could set aside those opinions and that Mr. Clark could get a fair trial here in this courtroom?
Yes.
testimony of the evidence, fairly impartially? Okay. Thank you. And juror 28, you work for McDonough Police Department? McDonough, okay. You are a civilian employee though, correct? Okay. Now, I was surprised to see that you put that you mistrust some law enforcement on your questionnaire. Are you talking about law enforcement that you work with or other law enforcement? Okay. Are you talking about law enforcement in Henry County or across the country? Okay. If you were to hear law enforcement from Henry County, not McDonough, testify in this trial, do you think you could listen to their evidence and treat them fairly and impartially? Is there anything about what you do with your job that you think would impact your ability to serve as a juror and be fair and impartial in this case? And you're a records clerk? Okay.
I need to double check, but I think I know something about this case. I'm not sure,
Okay.
but I have to double check.
And you think you know Mr. Clark?
No, something about the case.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Was that based on Judge Amaro reading the indictment and the charges to you?
The name.
The name?
Yeah.
The name of the, of Mr. Clark? Okay. And now, in your job, do you read the police reports as they come to you, or do you just give them to civilians? How does that work?
I scan through them, see mistakes.
Okay.
And I prepare my own.
Okay. Do you have any other duties that are law enforcement related at the department? And you have 5 children. What are the ages of your children?
I have 3 step and 2 now.
Okay. Adult or under 18?
They're all
Okay. And do you have grandchildren? 9.
okay.
Can you give me the age range of your grandchildren?
17 months to 17 years old.
Thank you. And I don't think I looked at everyone's questionnaire. I just want to make sure I'm clear. Everyone stated that you feel that you are safe COVID related and that no one has been exposed recently or test positive recently. Is that correct? Is there anyone who has any health concerns about COVID? You see that the judge has put in these plexiglass, we all have masks, we're all apart. Is there anyone else who has any concerns that you think it would prevent you from serving as a juror related to COVID? Okay. Thank you, Judge. That's all the questions I have.
All right, thank you, Ms. Matucci. Mr. Lord. I'm sorry. Why don't we, do you have to go, sir? How do we go next? Is there anyone else who has to go to that? I'm seeing several hands. This might be a good time for us to take just a short break. Let's take a 10-minute break. But before we go, please be mindful of the fact that we must maintain social distancing. I understand sometimes there's a rush to the bathroom, but you're going to have to maintain your social distancing in and around the bathrooms everywhere in the building. So don't worry about, we're going to be monitoring the bathrooms. So if it looks like 10 minutes isn't sufficient time to give everybody the time they need to do what they need to do, then we'll extend it a little bit. Try to be back in 10 minutes if you can. The other thing I want to say is let's be sure that we're appropriately masking with the mask up over the nose at all times when we're in the building. Let's avoid gathering in groups in any way, shape, or form. I hope I made that perfectly clear. If you have any questions at all, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. We'll take it. We'll take a 15-minute break.
And Judge, I just, if it's okay to add that there are restrooms both upstairs and downstairs.
That's a great point. Thank you, Amanda. There are restrooms upstairs, downstairs. If you have any questions about where there might be additional bathrooms, just check in with the sheriff's deputy and he'll help you. Thank you, and we'll see you back in 15 minutes. And, I just want to, once the party's, what's the third eleven, I just want to turn around for a second, and I want to talk about one quick thing. Go ahead, everybody. Go ahead and take your 15-minute break, okay? And you're allowed to go outside anywhere you want to. And I am going to ask that just for a moment, just for a few minutes, that you leave this courtroom, okay? Okay, this is going to be our first sort of bench conference, all right? First of all, I just wanted to let you know that, no, stay right here, please. You can hear me well. Yes, sir.
Yes,
That I think we need to instruct Ms. Jeffries not to do any investigation into whether or not
yes, Judge.
she has any knowledge about anything related to this case. We're going to have only one opportunity to talk to her, and what she later acquires, I think, would potentially create some sort of an issue for us. So if there's no objection from either of the parties, it would be my intention to tell her not to do any additional investigation.
No, Judge.
No, Judge.
Oh, all right, let's go ahead and take our break and we'll come back. Thank you.
Yes, Judge, one thing, I just wanted to know if we were concerned, about Mr. Clark, if he's too far from you, if we needed to move the TV. I just want to make sure that there's no issues with Mr. Ward being able to communicate with him. I know we have to socially distance, but I saw when he moved around, so that's up to Mr. Ward.
All right, well, I'll leave that to Mr. Lord to say and Mr. Clark to communicate. Mr. Clark, you have a need to speak to your attorney at any time, just reach out to Mr. Lord and then we'll go from there. I'm trying to think. Mr. Lord, I'm going to let you just sort of sit with that question for a bit and you can talk to him about it and then decide whether or not you have an issue, and if you do, that you'd like to have some sort of remedy, and if you, I'm happy to accommodate you by moving the screen if that's what you're requesting.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And also, if you want to have a conference with your client at some point, of course, it's private, you're welcome to use this jury room over here. It's been disinfected and cleaned, just like all the other rooms in the courthouse, and it's available to you for that purpose.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're going to take our 15-minute break.
Thank you.
Don't want to go up here, just wait outside. There's one on board. I think there's one back on the other. That would be easy. I'll just go back there. It's open. So the whole time, part of the jury will sit out here.
Yep.
You're watching it on YouTube?
Yeah.
Where's the camera?
It might be the TV. Might be empty.
Hey. Is it there?
Huh?
Is it there?
Yeah, go ahead, you just rest on.
Yeah, we're running good.
Why don't they back down?
I need him to,
Go ahead, go this way.
yeah, I need him to make sure that nobody did what he did.
Right.
Man.
Have you gone to there?
No.
Are you going to there?
Yeah.
Hey, 15 minutes.
I like this setup, the number thing is really.
Yeah, 20.
I can follow right along, these are really fun. Did you really have to think about it?
When we get out there, and the clean crew coming in, they come down like
We're all
that.
sitting on here, they have a number that's visible, and then each questionnaire.
Well, their trial, it's gonna be different.
So it's really easy, they have a different question.
Absolutely,
Like she was even like, yeah, she is. It's just a lot. Thank you, I'll go back there.
Michael was back here.
Michael, he just was, he was
Oh, we lost it. Is this room?
Well, there's someone in the restroom.
Okay, I'll go.
you guys are I'll handle it up here.
So you're in the clerk's office?
Karen's still in there?
That was a lot of years. She was always with me. You're next?
I'm it.
I'll go.
I gotta get out there and relieve that.
Yes, sir. Ladies, do y'all know where the cameras are for YouTube? For YouTube streaming?
I do not.
Okay.
I did not know it was being streamed.
Yes, we are, when YouTube started. We're gonna go viral.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes.
Okay, Yes.
Slow down too much to see my emails. But I was finally looking for it. I think you guys noticed that. Here in Ian. Here in Ian.
Are they finished? Are they? Little waiting on. Apparently, I would see what community represented by the social center. What's too much? What is that? So what is too much? Too much? So why are you charging $260 an hour? That is broke.
I didn't say that I don't like to go that far.
So if we're straight, we don't want to have any agreement. How close are they? Yeah, that's you. Hey, was that right?
Okay, it looks like I'm gonna tear it up. Look, hey, you wanna come look? I'm not sure how it fits together. Do these go on the inside?
You turn it around the other way, yeah. And then that top piece sits over the ledge.
I'd probably crash it.
Yeah.
Well, it takes the bump and that thing.
I know that would happen if I used it. Now these are on the inside, right? There's one here, it doesn't go there, it goes here.
I believe so.
Trust it.
Ronnie, you know me. Yeah, no one else. Well, then tell them. Remain seated, come to order.
Okay. Let's see. We have everybody back with us. Mr. Lord, you ready to proceed?
I am Judge.
Let's begin.
All right, good morning. I represent Mr. Clark. I'm Attorney Lord. I've just got a few more questions. I've been listening and taking notes all morning. Okay. My first question is there anyone here that's disturbed by the prejudgment of guilt or innocence in highly publicized cases in the media or social media? Anyone at all? Yes. Is there anyone that's bothered or disturbed by the prejudgment of guilt or innocence? Like assuming somebody's guilty or innocent in a highly publicized case, and we've had a lot of them, in the media or social media. Okay, I will start here. And you're number 12. All right, now tell me how you feel about it.
The media is lying about everything. So, they have said, I don't believe anything the media comes out of it.
About the guilt or innocence?
Right.
Okay. And was there anybody else that was here? Yes, ma'am.
I'm very disturbed by it. I'm
Okay.
very disturbed by it.
What did you think about it?
In terms of the type of publicity, what's
Right.
being shown, and whether what's being shown is actually factual, and whether or not it's biased.
Okay. Do you think they're biased for guilt or for innocence?
It depends on the situation.
So it can go both ways. Okay. Anybody else over here? All right. And so I think you were next. 15. All right. How do you feel about it, sir?
It's disturbing. It skews facts at times. Sometimes it benefits, sometimes it's detrimental. A lot of times it's biased based on personal interests and skewed depending on who's supporting the facts and what facts they're trying to release to the public. So yeah, it's disturbing.
Is it usually biased for innocence or for guilt?
It all depends on the person, what political acts is being supported by, the time of year, what the focus of that trial or case is at that time.
I see. Okay. And then I think you're next, sir. 19.
Yeah, I'm pretty disturbed. I mean, to me, I just feel like the George Floyd case. To me, I feel it was more political than a fair trial. I mean, not necessarily know if the guy was guilty or not, but I think before the jurors came in, to me, it felt like they were already guilty. So.
Because of the coverage?
Yeah, because of the coverage, and also, I mean, there's a lot of people in Washington that say, never let a good crisis go to waste, and they use stuff like that to manipulate stuff, whatever they want done.
Yes, sir. Okay. And then your number 25, yes, ma'am. What did you think about it, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm also disturbed. I feel like it's not always fair for a case to be publicized that much, and again, the media, I don't really trust major news media. They'll always try to sensationalize something and push you towards one way or the other, and then sometimes that leads towards, being riled up, people threatening, people walking the case, and those that should happen. So yes, I don't trust the media's coverage of cases a lot of times.
Do you think they're biased for guilt or for innocence?
Depends on the case.
Right, it goes both ways. And number 27, what did you think about it?
Pretty much the same thing that everyone else has said, that major media outlets shouldn't be frustrated that they are more sensationalizing what occurs than they are reporting actual facts. That it's the person on trial, whether it's the actual defendant or if it's the victim of a crime, is often tried in the media long before they ever get to a courtroom. And I think that it definitely skews judgment of jurors, even if they aren't a juror on that case, because we've been inundated with all this information about court, about what happened, and again, seeing what I perceive as inherent unfairness of the system. And so I have a very difficult time viewing anything that comes across that's a court case, viewing it dispassionately, of the idea that we're supposed to come in with the assumption of innocence, whereas so much more often, I feel that jurors, especially with what we see in the news, come in with the assumption of guilt.
Okay, do you have a presumption of innocence for Mr. Clark? In this
I would
case?
like to say, honestly, yes, I do. I think that everyone is certainly constitutionally guaranteed a fair trial. I don't think that always happens. I do think that trials can be run off rails. I would hope that if I were on a jury, I would be able to listen impartially. But it is kind of hard to turn off parts of your brain and parts of your personality.
It is. Okay. Thank you. Madam, did you raise your hand? Okay, sorry, thank you. Okay, have any of you taken any classes or attended seminars for body language, to study body language and interpret it? Right now. Sir, I can't see your number. 10, okay. What did you take, sir?
They teach us about language and tactics and things like that.
A seminar?
Huh?
You said a seminar?
And it's my job.
Yes.
To give us classes in how to read body language.
Oh, okay. So, how long was the class?
There is a time, maybe, I don't know, a couple days. Maybe.
Okay. Did you learn a lot about it to read body language?
I participated, I read the book.
Okay. That's interesting. Anybody else over here? All right, sir.
Military
Oh,
interrogation class.
Which class was it?
Interrogation and body language class for the military.
Okay. What did you do in the military? When you were doing that?
I started off as a 11 bang bang infantryman, then I went to 81 series, and then I was on mid-team.
Okay, you took a body language course through the military.
I observe and the person that you're examining, your body language, certain things that they do when you ask them certain questions, certain body functions that will happen.
I see. How long was the course?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. Pretty intense.
Given by military intelligence.
Okay. Were you in a war? Did you serve during a war?
I did 8 combat tours.
Wow. Okay, great. Okay, anybody else? Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone here that thinks an indictment is proof that Mr. Sean Clark committed a crime? So the indictment was what the judge read you at the beginning, telling you what Mr. Clark was charged with. Okay, so we all know that's not evidence. Okay, is there anyone here that doesn't want to be here for any reason or no reason? So everybody's okay? Y'all are probably ready to get out from the quarantine. Yes, ma'am?
I don't want to be here.
Oh, you don't? Okay, for no reason or any reason. And you don't have to tell us.
Any reason.
Okay, so you're the only one? I can't quite see.
12.
12. And you too, sir?
Yeah, I'd say I don't, because like I said, I work emergency services, so I'm called out during the night.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get in at 3:30 this morning.
So this could be really hard.
Yes. The emergency services, floods, tree on houses, stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
I get a call anytime after hours.
Okay.
And I work during the day also.
Wow, so that could be tough.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one too, I had it go to school and I have to leave at 2:40.
You have to leave by 2:30 today?
I have a,
Just today?
yes,
What kind of appointment?
I,
Eyes? Okay. Just today?
yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. And that's all the questions I have.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here this morning. Thank you for your time. I'm going to ask you all to report back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. But tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I don't anticipate that we are going to be able to question all of the panels that we need to and be able to get a jury picked by 5 o'clock today. I'm going to ask that you report back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And report back in the same way that you did this morning. You have a jury number. Just go back to that seat. And then we'll know that you're here. And then we'll summon you up here just as soon as we're ready to let you know whether or not you've been selected to serve in this case. And that way, we'll be able to make sure that you get to your eye appointment.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll see you all here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Thank you, and please be mindful of the fact that this is not something that should be discussed with anyone at home or elsewhere. Don't do any independent investigation into any aspect of this case. No social media searches, no Google searches, nothing. Everything that you learn about this case should be learned right here in this courtroom and only in this courtroom. So don't view any account of it on TV, any account of it on social media, any account of it on Google or YouTube. It's vital to the integrity of the process that all you learn occurs here. I've repeated it a couple of different ways now, and I've intoned it in slightly different ways, but I think everybody understands, and I appreciate you, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Oh, and Ms. Jeffries, can you stay for 1 minute, please? Everybody else, we're going to excuse you. Hold on to that, and the clerk will give you some instructions. If you have any questions about anything I've said, just speak to the clerk. Okay, Ms. Jeffries, just a quick point we wanted to raise with you. You mentioned that you were going to check something about Mr. Clark. We're asking that you not do any independent investigation. Don't check. You've already alerted us to the fact that what you're thinking and what you know. We're going to kind of keep it right there. Okay?
That's fine.
Are you okay with that?
I just wanted to interfere with the case if I had seen something with his name on a report or something at work. I just wanted to be honest that I think I did see his name. I'm not sure, I'm not 100% sure, because I do a lot of reports, but I just wanted to be sure that it wasn't going to interfere with the proceeding.
I understand. We only get one opportunity to speak to you and to learn what's on your mind, and so that's why we don't want you to do anything in addition to what you've already done, which is just to tell us what you're thinking about and what you've seen. And you've done that, and we appreciate your candor. Okay? We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
All right, this is what my intention is, and let me know if this is okay. If anyone has My plan is to have our cleaning crew come in, wipe down, all of the seats, and then bring in the next panel. Okay, anything else from a bench conference standpoint before we move on to the next panel?
Did you want us to do roll calls, after each panel or wait to the end?
I know that the operational plan suggests that we do them now, and if you'd like to, we can. I generally speaking, will wait until the end, because, but if you'd like to do it now, we can. What's your preference?
I didn't understand what you said. Do what?
Do we want to do strikes for cause now or wait to the end?
I don't care.
I'll leave it to your discretion, Judge. I just wasn't sure for numbers, so I didn't need to know.
Yeah, well, one of the things about doing this for a while is that you sort of have a general idea of what your numbers are going to be. And it's easier. I think it's easier for us to do it at the end.
Yes, Judge.
And then actually what we'll do is we'll do it after 4 panels, because I don't think there's any chance that we're going to get through this with 3 panels based upon what I've just seen.
Yes, Judge.
Would you agree?
Yes, Judge.
I agree.
Okay, I know you both very experienced, and I appreciate that. So let's just do it at the end. And we're going to go ahead and take a short break to allow the cleaning crews to come in. And if you would please just ask them to come in, that would be great. And then we're going to, just as soon as you tell us that it's been cleaned, then we're going to ask the clerk's office to go downstairs and bring up the next panel.
Yes, Judge.
Thanks, guys.
You give us another list of
It's the live stream camera.
the list shows us
This,
the highlight that says which numbers are coming in. No, I'm coming in first.
what was the vendor told me that even the bench conferences are streamed on YouTube, is that for whatever reason I'm not into them?
I was okay with the last one, but I think in the future, we also should make sure
Okay.
that we turn it on. We should be able to turn it on, the IT.
Very top. Turn back.
Yes. They're just swiping the jury seat.
Roughly, if that. They're just gonna wipe down the jury seats.
Okay.
Do they need to get out too?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I think they're just doing the jury seats because everybody's gonna be sitting where they're sitting.
Yeah.
And the only people that are changing are the jurors, so.
At least you can't do it somewhere else.
Of course, that'd be a Florida fan type thing, so just watch out for that going. We're in the back.
I asked him if they do
Print it out.
Can you hear the one year off and miss what's going on? I'm not going. I do whatever I'm told to do. You're up for trial. If you don't resolve it, it's automatically your problem. The only thing counter offered was, you authorized me to offer Mr. Muir and I did. I didn't offer nothing. That's what your wife said. You said, okay. And we asked him, they said, do we have? I have to have authority from you, what do you want me to counter offer to you? It's hard. I can't do it, that's your authority. True. I'll tell them whatever you want me to tell them. Hey. They're over.
What about jury room?
But at this point, I think
It's always hot in here.
the judge said that after the trial, it's simply a line of leave. Me and my partner talking to the jail, we showed you the video. Right, you've been in prison. The prison's been quarantined. I was here. Working with the DA. You're not trying to help me lower it. All right, so what do you want to do now? He's not going to take the recommendation. All you can do now is have a trial or plea. Do a blind plea. Nobody. You don't want to do that. I'm not. Then it automatically goes to
I just handed it to him.
That's all you gotta say right now. That's what's gonna happen. It's not, because I just went to school with your.
All we care about is juror rooms.
What's not gonna? I know, you saying, oh, it's gonna be a blind plea or something like that. No, if you plead guilty now, it's gonna be a blind plea. You're confusing me. A child that's a person that committed this crime behind the black. Why I mean, I'm not trying to throw the book at me. I don't get it. I'm not throwing the book at you.
How do you answer something?
But you're not trying to help me. It's the thing. Well, that's your opinion. I'm sorry you feel that way. That's not right. Listening to you break and soul.
So I think they have the ability to read these things.
Well,
that doesn't change.
We're gonna be here for the you're not trying to help me at all. You said, how do you want to get the end of it? You're not having one time, you sit here and try to tell me. Not one time have you sit here and try to talk to me since I've been in this courtroom about my family. And you do what you're doing right now. You said you accused me of working with the deal. You accused me of not helping you. You said it over and over. You're not. You sit here and laugh and talk with the you have to do about my case. If we have a bench conference, we have to talk. We tell you, but I ain't.
That one look a little better.
You can do whatever you want.
All right,
go to the prison and not get out of prison.
So, in the future.
That's all you're saying.
Man,
you gonna
what? You're ready.
How are you an attorney?
Okay. Go ahead. Put him in.
Tell you.
Hang on a minute, hang on.
How old are you? What is it? Okay, nobody's here. So 13 is the first one.
Bring him in. You have the camera turned already? Yes, ma'am, James.
On the plastic.
Remain seated, come to order.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You've been summoned to assist us with a criminal case. It is the case of the state versus Sean Raheem Clark. It's case number 2019 SUCR 285-BJ. Mr. Clark is charged with child molestation in count number 1, and count number 3, public indecency. Can everybody hear me? Okay. And everybody can see me, they have a clear line of sight to me? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the people who are assisting with the trial of the case today, on the side of the state, are Assistant District Attorney Megan Tucci, right here. And we also have an Assistant District Attorney by the name of Amanda Clark. On the defense side, we have Mr. Sean Raheem Clark seated at the end of the table with a tie. And seated next to him is Mr. Richard Lloyd, who is his attorney. We are in the process of picking a jury. You are the second panel. A panel consists of 12 people, and you are in panel number 2. And the length of time that it takes to select a jury varies widely from case to case. Nevertheless, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of this phase of the trial. If you were seated at one of these 2 tables, you would want me and your attorneys to do a thorough job. For that reason, I ask that you not become impatient with the process. It is a process that is unique to the United States of America. It is designed to secure 12 jurors, all of whom begin the case with no opinions concerning the outcome. How is this going to work? Well, I'm going to put you under oath. I'm going to ask you to promise to answer these questions that are going to be posed to you truthfully. I will ask you to tell me if you are related to certain people involved in the case. I will also inquire as to any opinions you have about this case, any prejudice or bias you have concerning the case, and whether or not you are partial toward either party. And then, depending upon your answers, we go to the next step in the process. During the next step in the process, the attorneys will have an opportunity to speak to you. The state has the burden of proof, so they'll go first. The attorneys can ask you questions as a group, and they can also ask you individual questions, and I expect that they will do both. What sort of questions can you anticipate? Well, typically, the attorneys are interested in where you live in Henry County, how long you've lived in the county, what your marital status is, where you work, or if you're retired, from what business or industry you're retired, if you're married, where your spouse works. They're generally interested in whether or not you have had any prior jury experience. Also likely to inquire into any interests or opinions you might hold. They might be interested in your acquaintances, your religion, any social or fraternal connections you might have, your personal, family, or business experiences, or anything which might indicate that you would be inclined to lean toward or be biased toward this case, any attorney, or either party. Please do not be offended by any of these questions. They are not designed to pry into your personal affairs. They are designed to put jurors in the box who will be able to return a true and fair verdict. The grand jury of this county has indicted the defendant in this case. In this state, no person accused of a felony can be brought to trial unless that person has been indicted by the grand jury or formally accused by the state. In this case, we have an indictment. An indictment is not evidence of guilt. It is merely the mechanism used to bring about a trial. The indictment in this case reads as follows. I ask all of you to please pay careful attention as I read it. The grand jurors selected, chosen, and sworn for the county of Henry, in the name and on behalf of the citizens of Georgia, charged and accused Sean Raheem Clark with the offense of child molestation, and that the said accused in the state and county aforesaid, on or about the 2nd day of December 2018, did commit an indecent act in the presence of Anaya Parker, a child under the age of 16 years, with the intent to arouse the sexual desires of said accused by displaying his penis and masturbating, contrary to the laws of said state, the peace, good order, and dignity thereof. There is another person who's a part of this indictment who you will not concern yourself with today. We're trying only the case involving Mr. Clark. But that's why I'm skipping from count 1 to count 3, because this other person is charged in counts 2 and counts 4. Okay? Count 3, and the grand jurors aforesaid, in the name and on behalf of the citizens of Georgia, further charged and accused Sean Raheem Clark with the offense of public indecency, and that the said accused in the state and county aforesaid, on or about the 2nd day of December 2018, did perform a lewd exposure of his penis at the Henry County Jail, a public place, contrary to the laws of said state, the peace, good order, and dignity thereof. I'm going to ask all of you to please stand and raise your right hand so that I can administer the one-hour oath. You shall give true answers to all questions as may be asked by the court or its authority, including all questions asked by the parties or their attorneys concerning your qualifications as jurors in the case of the state of Georgia versus Sean Raheem Clark, so help you God. Response is, if true, is I do. I do. All right. Thank you all, and please be seated. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we'll ask you the questions that I have to ask you statutorily. The first question is there anyone seated out here in panel number 2 who is not currently a resident of Henry County? If you're not currently a resident of Henry County, please raise your hand. Is there anyone seated in panel 2 who is a convicted felon who's not had his or her civil rights restored? If you fall into that category, please raise your hand. Is there any person in panel 2 who is related by blood or marriage to District Attorney Gary Spatilla, Assistant District Attorneys Megan Matucci, or Amanda Duncan, or the defendant in this case, Sean Raheem Clark, or the alleged victim in this case, Anaya Parker? If you are related to any of these people, please raise your hand. Have any of you, for any reason, formed or expressed any opinion in regard to the guilt or innocence of the accused? If so, please raise your hand. Have you any prejudice or bias resting on your mind either for or against the accused? If so, please raise your hand. Is your mind perfectly impartial between the state and the accused as you sit there right now? If not, please raise your hand. Ms. Matucci.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning. As the judge said, my name is Megan Matucci. I'm Assistant District Attorney in the Henry County District Attorney's Office. I'm joined by my colleague, Amanda Duncan, who also is an Assistant District Attorney. We represent the state of Georgia. I'm going to ask you some questions, and just so you're aware, if you can't hear me, please raise your hand at any time. I'm going to try and talk loud with the mask on. And if you see me and my colleague texting, please know that we're not being disrespectful. We're just communicating with our staff and doing it so we're not close to each other. First, I'm going to ask some questions, and if you feel this applies to you, to anyone on the panel, I want you to raise your hand, okay? Is anyone here who does not understand the English language? No responses. We anticipate that this trial will last all throughout this week. Is there anyone who has any appointments that you cannot reschedule? A doctor's appointment, a surgery, or non-refundable airline tickets? Juror 35? Can you tell me what you have that you can't reschedule and when?
I have a vaccine appointment for tomorrow.
Okay. What time is your appointment, ma'am?
10:20.
Is that close to McDonough?
Sandy Springs.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else? If Mr. Clark would stand. I know the judge asked you if anyone was related to Mr. Clark. Does anyone recognize him or think you know him or he looks familiar to you? Seeing no responses, thank you, sir. You can have a seat. His attorney, Mr. Richard Lord. Does anyone know Mr. Lord has done business with Mr. Lord? No responses. Does anyone have any close family member or friends who are defense attorneys, work at the courthouse, or work as a district attorney or a public defender? Juror 41?
He doesn't work here as a plaintiff's attorney,
okay.
But he has done business with this court before.
With this court?
Yes.
And you said as a plaintiff's attorney doing civil work?
Yeah.
Who is this person in relation to you?
Best friend.
Okay. But he does not do criminal cases?
He's a plaintiff's attorney.
Okay. Do you ever talk to him about any of his cases?
In his case, I heard him talk about a case that was a friend of his he was going around lawyering. So, but not for this area.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Does anyone here know myself, Ms. Duncan, District Attorney Patillo, or anyone who works for my office, the Henry County District Attorney's Office? No responses. Has anyone here gone to law school, paralegal school, or taken any legal classes? No responses. I want you to look around the room. Do you know anyone in this room, or do you know any of the other jurors that you were downstairs with? Juror 35.
I know someone that's downstairs.
Is another juror?
Another juror, yes.
Do you know their name or their juror number?
Shannon Deasy.
And how do you know Shannon?
A co-worker.
And where do you two work?
Henry County Schools.
Okay. And ma'am, if you were selected with this jury, with Ms. Shannon, do you think that you could set aside your relationship or friendship with her and treat her the same as you would the other jurors that you're unfamiliar with?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to read a list of names of potential witnesses in this case. If you recognize any of these names, I want you to raise your hand. Vanessa Parker, Anaya Parker, Christopher Shower, Charles Crenshaw, Timothy Cummings, Josh Fielder, Wendy Sandvich, Greg Patterson, Serena Flanagan. Does anyone know any of those parties? Seeing no responses. Has anyone, for any reason, been in the Henry County Jail, either as an arrest, to visit someone, or you work for your work? No responses. Has anyone here been arrested yourself or convicted of a crime? Juror 43? Sir, what were you charged with?
DUI.
And when was that?
99.
Okay. Was that here in Henry County? And what was the result of the case? Did you go to trial, plead guilty, dismissed?
I did community service.
Okay. Do you feel that you were treated fairly by the police department and the court system? Okay. Thank you for sharing. Is there anyone else who ever has been arrested or charged with a crime? Is anyone here, either your close family member or friend, been arrested or charged with a crime? No responses. Has anyone here ever, either you or someone close to you, a family member or friend, been accused of either rape, child molestation, public indecency, or some sort of sexual offense? No responses. Is anyone here, either you or someone close to you, a victim who's a victim of a sexual offense like rape, child molestation, or public indecency, or something like that? No responses. Does anyone here, I want you to raise your hand if you believe that the law or police should not be involved with anything in your family? So if someone is molested, if someone is abused as a child, if you get a domestic violence dispute, you believe these are family issues and the police should never be involved in these kind of things. Does anyone believe that? No responses. Does anyone here have experience working with children? As a teacher, volunteer work, coach, anything like that? Okay, I start with, ma'am, juror 35, you said you're an educator?
Counselor.
Counselor. And what school are you at?
Okay.
Okay. And is there a certain grade you work with?
Right now, K-12, next year, I'll be high school.
Okay. And juror 41, you raised your hand, you work with kids?
Camp counselor.
Okay.
Age, grade 7 through 12.
Is that currently or previously you did this work?
Previously.
Okay. And your spouse is a pastor?
Yes.
So do you work, you and your spouse work with children through the church?
She does. I mean, there's children at the church, but I'm not active
Okay.
in the program.
Anyone else work with children? Juror 46?
I coach youth sports,
Okay. Do you currently do that or you previously did?
apparently,
Okay. What age range do you teach or coach? I'm sorry.
11,
And is that in Henry County?
yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Juror 29?
I've worked with children through extension services, with horticulture, educating children about horticulture, volunteer services, Henry County Master Gardeners,
Okay.
extension services.
Extension services. And what age of children are you working with, volunteering with?
Sprouts program is, up to, age of like third grade.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Has anyone here, either you or someone close to you, been falsely accused of a crime? No responses. Does anyone here have, for any reason, a moral or religious or philosophical belief that you feel that you cannot serve on a jury or sit in judgment of another person? No responses. Does anyone here, for any reason, you have either you can't hear, you're having difficulty seeing, or a medical reason why you cannot serve on this jury? No responses. Is there anyone here who has, for some reason, you have an issue looking at nudity or genitals, and that it's so much that it would bother you, that it would distract you from serving as a juror? No responses. I'm going to go through the questionnaires. Some of these information hopefully is correct. You may have sent this in a long time ago, but I'm going to address the questions that you responded to on those questionnaires. Juror 29, you are retired, ma'am?
Yes,
What did you previously do?
I worked as a licensed practical nurse.
You were a nurse, I'm sorry?
Yes, for Emory Healthcare.
Okay. And what type of nursing did you do?
I worked all over the place. I was like a floater.
Okay. You were at the hospital?
Yes, at the hospital.
Okay.
Hospital nursing.
Did you ever work with children?
Yeah, so there was some young sickle cell patients I worked with, some relatively young.
Did you ever do sexual assault exams on children?
No.
Okay, thank you. And you have served on a jury before?
Yes.
And that was here in Henry County?
No, DeKalb County, and then, many years ago, the, district court downtown.
Okay, the federal court.
Yes.
And that was, in DeKalb County, that was a civil case?
Civil case,
Okay.
yes.
And without telling me what decision you made, did you reach a verdict at the end of your service?
Yes.
Okay. What about your federal court service? Did you able to get a verdict there?
Yes.
Okay. You have 2 children?
Yes, 2 sons.
How old are your sons?
35 and 37.
Do you have grandchildren, ma'am?
No.
Okay. And you indicated on your questionnaire that you have some autoimmune issues, in reference to the questions about COVID. Are you vaccinated, or do you feel safe to be here to serve on jury?
I've been vaccinated.
Okay. You also indicated on your survey that you feel the justice system is unfair. Were you thinking about a specific issue in reference to you or someone you know, or what you see on TV or social media?
On TV.
Okay. Do you feel that the justice system is unfair, particularly in Henry County or this courthouse?
No, I never had any issues in Henry County. Feel like that the police department, has always been, service, to the citizens, always been very courteous when,
Thank you for that.
sometimes when something, car
So-
stop or something,
Okay. So you've had some stops in Henry County, or you've had dealings with police here,
Yeah, and.
and you feel you've been treated fairly?
I'm
You feel
sorry.
you've been treated fairly by the police in
Yeah,
Henry County?
yes, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything that you see on TV or in the media that you think may not be unfair, do you think you could set that aside to what you hear and see in this courtroom and make a decision on what you hear and see from this courtroom?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I have no other questions for you. Juror 31, you work in finance?
Yes, ma'am.
Specifically, what do you do?
FP&A.
Sir, do you feel that you could serve as a fair and impartial juror if selected?
Yes, ma'am.
And sir, if you were, given your young age, if you were with jurors who are older than you, do you think you could hold your own and argue what you felt you believed in your heart for a decision in this case?
Certainly, I think a younger perspective would be a good way to expand, views and have different opinions.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Juror 33, you indicated you were a quality manager.
Yes, that's correct.
What company do you work for?
U.S. Machine and Tool.
Okay. So what does a quality manager do?
Just ensures that the operations run smoothly. I'm in charge of what we call an ISO 9001 program. It's a certification that many manufacturing companies undergo to, serve as a benefit to the company, potential customers.
Okay, thank you. And sir, do you think there's anything that we should know that would prevent you from serving as a fair and impartial juror if you're selected?
No.
And you've never served on a jury before?
No, I've been picked for jury duty, but never actually served on a case.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Juror 35, you also indicated that you believe the justice system is unfair. I'm going to ask you the same questions I asked the juror in front of you. Is that something specific to you or Henry County or someone you know, or just what you see on TV?
Just what I see on TV and social media.
Okay. Have you ever had any issues with you or someone close to you being treated unfairly?
No.
You indicated in your questionnaire that you have been a victim of a burglary?
Yes, a home invasion.
Okay, was that here in Henry County?
No, Clayton.
Okay. And did you report that to law enforcement?
Yes.
And do you feel that you were treated fairly by the officers in Clayton County?
Yes.
And do you think that if you were to hear testimony of officers in this courtroom, you could set aside any unfairness or issues you see on social media or in the media and listen to their testimony fairly and impartially? I need you to, okay, thank you. I need you all to respond yes or no or with a question because she is taking down everything you say, okay? So she can't hear you shake your head. And you indicated also that you sometimes mistrust law enforcement. Was that in reference again to what you see on TV?
Right.
Okay. Thank you. And juror 37, you work as a program analyst? Can you explain to us what that is? What do you do?
Work for the Federal Aviation Administration, do accident packages and pilot mediation, and work with litigation on those.
Okay. So you work with attorneys for the FAA?
Not directly, no.
Okay.
I just work with the accident packages.
Okay. And you have 3 children?
Yes.
Are your children grown adults?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have any grandchildren?
Oh, yes.
Can you give me the age range of your grands?
Months to 27.
Okay, thank you. And you have served on a jury before on a criminal case, you indicated?
Yes.
Was that here in Henry County?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
Too long to remember.
Okay. And without telling me what the verdict was, were you able to reach a verdict in the case?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And you indicated on your questionnaire that you have asthma. Are you vaccinated, or do you have any issues with serving in relation to COVID?
I'm vaccinated.
Okay. You also indicated on your questionnaire that you have some expectations based on what you see in TVs and movies. If I tell you that Henry County Police don't have the same technology as CSI and NCIS and those shows, would you be able to set what you see on TV outside of this courtroom?
Of course.
Okay. I'm not sure if that's what you were thinking about, but you indicated that on your questionnaire, that you had some expectations.
I don't think I was.
Okay, all right, thank you. And you indicated you've called 911 before?
Yes.
Was that for a crime or something?
Dispute.
Okay. And did you deal with Henry County officers?
Yes, I did.
And were you satisfied with the response you got from Henry County law enforcement?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Juror 40, you have one child?
Yes.
How old is your child?
1 year.
One? Thank you. And you are a sales manager?
Yes.
What type of company do you work for?
Equal
What type of company is that?
They sell, equipment, or, chemicals and washing equipment.
Okay. And you also indicated on your questionnaire that you feel the justice system is unfair. Were you talking about something to you or someone you know, or just stuff you see on TV and social media?
Things I've seen in person before, but nothing that would interfere with this.
Okay. So was any of it that you've seen in person in Henry County?
Just, here.
To appear? Okay.
It wasn't directly in front of my face, but here.
Okay. And is that in reference to a peer being arrested or pulled over or something like that, or something else?
Arrested.
Can you tell me what that peer was charged with?
DUI.
Okay. Given what happened to your friend, you feel you could set that aside and listen to the officers in this case fairly impartially?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And you've had to call 911 before? What was that for?
Robbery or burglary.
Okay. Was that here in Henry County?
Henry County and Clayton.
And Clayton, you said? And were you satisfied with the response you got from those officers for those incidents?
In Henry County.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Juror 41. You indicated that you have been a victim of several crimes, your car broken into and your car was hit.
Yeah, well, broken into at one time, and then another car was, hit, and runs without me being there, it was in the parking lot.
Okay. And were those in Henry County?
No.
Okay.
And actually another car hit me, but that was in the parking lot that I was in.
Have you had any dealings with law enforcement in Henry County?
No, not in the
Okay. In those incidents, were you satisfied with the response you got from the police that you dealt with?
Most of them, there was, one in Michigan that they would not come out because it was in a parking lot and it was not their jurisdiction, but
Okay.
that was, I understand.
And you work for CNN?
Yes, I do.
And you, satellite operations, is that, the trucks or in the office?
I'm in the building or from home, it's confidential information.
Okay. Anything, sir, you think that we should know that would make it, or for you to be fair and impartial to select it? Thank you. And juror 43, you have 2 children?
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
17 and 4.
And you indicated you were a project manager?
Yeah.
What type of company do you work for?
work for marketing, filming and print production company.
Do you supervise people?
Yes, I do.
How many people do you supervise?
I have, 7 direct reports.
Does that include the ability to, terminate and hire?
Yes.
Have you served on a jury before?
No.
And you indicated you've had to call 911 before, sir?
Yes.
What was that for?
Talking about on the phone.
I'm sorry about that. And same thing, sir, do you think there's anything that it would prevent you from being fair and impartial juror? Thank you, sir. And juror 46, you have 3 children?
Yes.
How old are your children?
19, 14, and 11.
And you are an electrician?
Yes.
And sir, is there anything that you think we should know that prevent you from being fair and impartial or serving as a juror? And juror 47, you are a nurse? What facility do you work at? Okay. Do you ever work with children? And have you ever done sexual assault exams? I'm sorry?
It's not a certified facility.
Okay. And have you served on a jury before? Is there anything that we should know that you think that would prevent you from serving? You're related to some law enforcement? What is your relation to those officers?
He's my brother-in-law.
Your brother-in-law? Okay, does he work in Henry County?
He does.
For which agency?
Henry County Police Department.
Do you think first of all, do you ever talk to him about any of his cases that he works on? Or if you were to hear testimony of law enforcement officers in this case, do you think that you could treat testimony of those officers the same as other civilians based on your relationship with your brother-in-law? And juror 48, what do you do for a living? And I need you to talk a little bit louder if you can, I'm sorry.
Department of Natural Resources and the Budget Office.
Budget office, okay. And you indicated that you have worked as a security guard or someone you know?
Just at the Masters.
At the Masters, okay. Do you have any training in law enforcement or security procedures?
No.
Okay. And did you have to carry a firearm for that?
No.
Okay. And you also indicated on your questionnaire that you had to give a statement to police?
Just what we got T-boned on the square.
Okay. Besides that, have you been a victim of a crime besides the accident?
No.
Okay. And were you satisfied with the response you got from the police department in that case? And is there anything you think that would prevent you from being fair and impartial if you were selected in this case? Thank you. And juror number 50, good morning, you have 2 children? How old are your children?
23 and 21.
Okay. Do you have any grandchildren? And you are a stay-at-home mom? Have you ever worked before? What type of work did you do?
I work for Delta in marketing and creative.
And And you have served on, a jury in Henry County? That was for a civil case? How long ago was that?
10-ish years.
Okay. And without telling me the decision you reached, did you reach a verdict on that case? Okay. And you reported that you were a victim of a crime around 2012? Or was that? Okay. Was that in Henry County? Were you satisfied with the response you got from the officers in that jurisdiction for the break-in? Okay. Thank you. And anything you think we should know that would prevent you from being fair and impartial if you were selected, ma'am? Thank you so much. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tucci. Mr. Lord.
Thank you, Judge. I have just a few general questions. I represent Mr. Clark here. I'll do it by sides in case we get a lot of hands raised. If that'll be easier. Okay, does anyone over here on this side believe that innocent people are not arrested? So if you get arrested, you gotta be guilty of something. Anybody think that's true? Okay, anybody over here think that innocent people don't get arrested? So if you're innocent, you never get arrested. Okay, does everyone understand? Excuse me. Does everyone understand that Mr. Clark comes in this court presumed to be innocent? Okay, how about yourself? Y'all understand that? All right, great. Thank you. Does anyone believe that just because Mr. Clark is seated at the defendant's table, he's probably guilty of something? Does anybody think that? Okay, the judge read the indictment to you. That's what Mr. Clark is accused of. Does anyone think that that's evidence that he committed some kind of crime? The indictment or the accusation, what he's accused of. Is there anyone that doesn't want to be here for any reason or no reason? You just don't want to be here. You don't have to tell us what it is if you don't want to. You okay? Okay. So you'd rather not be here for no reason or any reason? Yeah. Okay. Number 4. Or how about on this side? Is there anyone that doesn't want to be here for any reason or no reason at all? So you would be okay being here? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, just a couple of preliminary instructions to carry you forward for a while until we have a jury seated in the case. The first is that you're not to do any independent investigation into any aspect of this case. Everything that you see and hear that is connected to this case must occur in this courtroom, and only in the courtroom. In other words, don't do any internet research, no social media searching, no watching of YouTube, no watching of accounts of this on TV or in the newspaper. I'm not saying that there is any of that. I'm just saying that your obligation is to make sure that you are keeping yourself free and clear of all of these influences. Does everybody understand that? Is there anybody that doesn't understand that? It's obviously extremely important to the integrity of the process that your decision, if you are selected in this case, ultimately be based upon what happens here and what happens here only. Okay? So that's number 1. Number 2, we anticipate that we're going to be picking or talking to jurors all afternoon. and that we're gonna get probably to 5, perhaps after 5, and still not be in a position to tell you whether or not you've been selected to serve in this case. And so what we're gonna do is ask you to report back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. At that time, we should be in a position right around then to let you know whether or not you've been selected. It might be that we don't have that information for you until about lunch, but in any event, your job or your instruction is to report back here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And when you do report back, where do you go? Well, you go right back to the seat that has been assigned to you. You have a number that's been assigned to you, you have a seat with a number on it. You'll just go directly back to that seat, then we're gonna be in good shape. I understand we have one juror that has a conflict. There's a vaccination at 10:30. 10:20, and then we're gonna go ahead and, if there's no objection from council, just go ahead and excuse you till 10:20. Or until you complete your vaccination, and then come on back, okay? And if we don't need you for some reason, we'll reach out to you and let you know not to make the trip, okay? Let's see. I believe that's all. Thanks again for your patience and for your time. We can't do this without you. We appreciate you, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Right, can I please ask our court reporter to go ahead and just turn the camera for James? All right, is there anything before we break?
Not for me, Your Honor.
Okay, 1:30. See you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and have the jurors who are assembled in panel number 3 just come directly up here at 1:30, just as soon as the attorneys are situated. And Mr. Parks is here as well. And let's see. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to have the cleaning staff come in and clean down the seats again. Thank you, Ernesto. And just let me know by way of just sending a quick text or an alert to Lynn that that's been completed, okay? All right, we'll see you at 1:30.
And Your Honor, would you wish for counsel on the other cases to return at 1:30?
That's a good question. I don't think we're gonna need you at 1:30. Just stay close so we can reach out to you if we do need you. But thanks for being here. I think what we'll do is release your clients on maybe 1 hour call for now. We'll go from there. Thank you. We're in recess.
I'm not. That's right.
Yes. Everything be locked, we'll be back in, we'll open the door at 1:30, but the deputy, myself will be in here. Won't let them know.
You bring lunch too?
Yes, sir.
What'd you bring?
Turkey sausage and some veggies, like bell peppers and cauliflower.
Yes, honey.
I saw Amanda look at me.
What?
I saw you look at me. When you said speak up because she's taking this down, I'm not.
Not.
So I'm just letting you know.
I didn't know that, because you're right, he didn't ask you.
Huh?
I just realized
I
you're
was
right,
like,
he didn't ask
did I
that.
miss something?
Because because
No, I didn't think about it, but that's why I'm saying no responses was for you too.
right. I'm just letting you know.
Thank you. I'm so used to doing it, I don't really think about it.
Well, I mean, it's still
No,
good
that's
for them
okay.
to speak up.
Yeah. Well, she was nodding her head, yes.
Yeah.
So, it's fine. It trains them for the future if they are selected.
It's fine.
I saw Amanda looking over me.
I was like,
You're like, what is she talking about?
I was like, she's definitely not taking this. Here, you got mommy. You got it.
Yeah. I can carry my card. I'm not that dumb.
Look, y'all stop arguing, go, Megan.
Oh my god, I can carry my card. And I'm going upstairs.
Move out my way.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Where is
ma'am.
Greg? He's my-
Let me get out the way. I know you can walk your class, and I can't move that fast. I see you know,
I'm gonna reset these guardians. So they're set an 8-hour timer. So I'll just reset them so they won't go off during whatever we're doing. So you got in here, what, 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
And turn them on?
I think they were already on when I got here, I believe, so.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody beat you in here then.
Yeah, I think so. So, I was at 10:45 or 10:30. And they get picked up, and then I go on lunch until 12. So, what time did the first group leave?
See, that all depends.
Okay.
It depends on how fast the questioning is. I would say if you've gotta go, make sure somebody's right outside that door. Because as soon as he does recess, he wants everybody out and at least clean the juror spots.
Right, because everybody else goes back to where they
These
were.
people go right back to the same spot.
Right, sounds good.
If they don't, then I'll notice that, hey, you know, this person's supposed to already in here, we're full, and, that's how we play it until.
Sounds good.
Something else comes available.
So the community service people here, I'm in here at 2 today.
Okay.
My coworker's gonna come in, either Lydia or Chuck, and they'll take over until 5 o'clock. So I'll tell them like what the whole thing is.
Yeah, just, as long as, I guess, all these seats are here, are taken.
Right.
But the public defender may not be here,
Yeah, 10 to 10.
So if he can be right there outside that door, if there's no room in here, he can be right outside the door, that way when we go to recess, I know right where he is.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. Normally, if like, the community service people here, I'll usually let them do it, because that's what they're here for.
Right.
So, but they don't go to the office until 12, they probably come be here by 12:15.
That stuff dry pretty quick.
The directions say 3 minutes, and then to let it air dry.
I got it.